All right, everybody. Hi, this is Coach Dennis Stoika with Modern Air Warriors. We are live once again for another amazing podcast in the series of podcasts that we have. Today, another special guest, Jay Wadsworth. I'm going to get to his bio here in a second. As always, we bring on like-minded people. Jay has an amazing background. I'm trying to bring on some additional folks in 2025 that are from a law enforcement background, teaching law enforcement, but also fit into who we are, what we do, etc. So, hey, Jay, thanks for being here. I'm going to let everyone know a little bit about who you are. You are the director, head instructor at Effective Fitness Combatives. You're a third-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, is what I understand, correct?
Correct.
You're a retired pro amateur MMA fighter. From just having a conversation a little bit before, I know you've now retired about 2 years ago, really to run your 2 years ago to run your business. 22 years in law enforcement. So thank you so much for dedication to something greater than yourself.
Appreciate it.
In your experience within law enforcement, right, which gets you to where you are today too, right? So 14 years of that 22 years in SWAT, amazing. DCJS instructor. I'm going to, there's a lot more detail to this. I'm kind of going to go kind of quick, right? But SME, so subject matter expert, has testified before, has been worked on cases before with different cities. Reality-based training instructor. We're going to go over a little bit of that. So some of the questions that we have, but a lot of other instructor too, right? So that's, range instructor, SWAT team director, head defensive tactics instructor at the Sheriff's Academy, defensive tactics, taser instructor, et cetera, like I said. So, Jay, if you want to add anything else to that, very specifically on who you are, what you do, I mean, it kind of leads into the first question too. So go ahead.
I mean, you can look good on paper and still not be good at instructing or still good at operating or whatever you're working on, right? So I never really put too much into people's resumes. I do have a lot of experience and backgrounds across multiple different fields of skill. And I think that's really, truly what has helped me develop EFC to become what it has as far as the curriculum. Yep. My first curriculum build was at an urban department in Western New York. And then my second curriculum build basically was for the state of New York. They contracted me out to revamp the entire DCGS program, which incorporates every academy teaches basically a version of EFC, but the one I built for DCGS minus NYPD because they teach their own stuff. They've also had me in for DCGS and had me in as EFC. So, a lot of across the board skill sets and variety of things. I believe in being really well-rounded for law enforcement. You can't just be a gun guy. You can't just be a DT guy. We can get into that as the podcast follows. But again, just kind of my lifelong work has been mixing it all together and kind of integrating it into a system that is truly combatives for law enforcement.
And we talked again a little bit before this, and never met you before. Obviously, we know someone in common at my agency that loves you guys, has trained, I believe, with you guys before too. And we'll get into more of that too, because I'm all about that, right? I'm all about not one thing, especially for the law enforcement world. But even, my business, Modern Warriors, we're a mix of all that too. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of a specific question. Who is Jay Wadsworth? What is your why? Why to me is some purpose, passion, and principles that you have in your life.
Yeah, so I grew up. I played soccer collegiately. I was going to be an attorney. I didn't want to go to school that long after getting there, and realized that I wasn't a desk guy. I wanted to do something that was different every day, and ended up becoming a police officer. So when I became a police officer, I didn't have any like formal fighting or training. I wrestled up through middle school, and that was it. So I just remember my first year or two on 2000, 2001, 2002 was again, not really knowing how to fight and seeing what was taught as far as mainly PPCT, which is pressure point control tactics on the East Coast, was huge. And ended up even my second or third year on getting sent to go into PPCT instructor school, and just was like, man, this is not ideal for what we do. Had a couple incidents where I was, had a larger drunk guy fighting, resisting arrest. And, thank goodness I was athletic and he was really drunk and could barely stand, or that could have gone poorly for my portion of it. And was like, I got to start learning how to fight. So I started looking up for jiu-jitsu schools in Western New York at the time, early 2000s. There was nothing realistic. So just started getting some high, Western PA, Western New York, all those areas are real hotbeds for jiu-jitsu or for wrestling. So started getting a lot of the higher level wrestling guys together, and we just started kind of doing like fight training, more like MMA style training versus stay straight jiu-jitsu training. And, ended up eventually going under some people, but that's probably why I don't put a lot into like, hey, are you a black belt? Are you a brown belt? Are you a purple belt? I don't put much into belt levels because 2004, when I started training till like 2008, 9, I never even really was ranked. I just was trained like in jiu-jitsu, right? Like we were training jiu-jitsu, but we were kind of like doing a hybrid style of jiu-jitsu. And that was how it kind of was the majority of our life was we really never were I never went to a school where I was under a black belt every day. Does that make sense? Like we would go places, do seminars, come back, and kind of like taught ourselves jiu-jitsu, and people are like, man, your jiu-jitsu is really good for never learning under somebody.
Yeah.
But I think it's too because like it's more hybrid. It's got some wrestling and scrambling in it. We fought first, right? So it's like more of a MMA style jiu-jitsu. Sure. Do I like the sports aspect of jiu-jitsu? Of course I love the sport aspect of jiu-jitsu because I'm passionate about it and I love it, but I also understand the integration into other sports, whether it's just MMA. If it's MMA, I'm not pulling guard, right? Like I can play guard. I have a really good guard, but I'm not playing guard in MMA if I don't have to. If I have to, then I will. But, I think that's where it's really helped me on the sport side, being able to do both some sort of wrestling, mainly jiu-jitsu and MMA style stuff, and then being able to integrate it into all my experiences in the street, proactive police officer units, SWAT, all that kind of stuff. That's where it really helped kind of combining it all together and really understanding like what is police work versus what is the sport. Now, there's this make it jiu-jitsu mandatory push, and I get it, right? I get it. I get what they're saying, but I more say like make grappling mandatory of some sort. But then there's got to be an integration into the weapons-based side of it. Okay. 100%. And our program has as much wrestling fundamentals as it does jiu-jitsu fundamentals. And then it has just as much weapon-based fundamentals as it has anything else. Now, does the striking, the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, do those help in the weapon-based systems once you understand those weapon-based control points or concepts of that? Yes, of course it does. Because now I can control the person, or I understand how to control them, or when not to control them, and when to leave, when to get my weapons up and running. But then there's the athletic aspect of it as well. Range instructors don't move well, most of them. They stand stationary, they don't move. Now, if I need to intercept that knife initially in the clinch and then move, I need to be able to move fast. If I just take 1 or 2 steps back or 1 step to the side and present my gun, the guy's on top of me already again, right? So sure, maybe I shoot him 8, 9 times before he dies, but I'm probably stabbed 5, 6, 7 times before he dies as well. So taking all of that information across so many different aspects of my life and integrating it in is kind of like why the curriculum is what it is right now.
So
why it's good.
That was crazy amazing. And I don't know how much my question before we went on led to some of that, or if that was going to be normal. You know what I mean? But because just for the listeners, right? One of our questions that I have here is what else, right? Because there's a lot of people teaching, just like you said, BJJ is like becoming mandatory. Everyone's going to learn BJJ, and it's not the only answer alone. It can't be. It isn't, right? Same thing for me. Like I mentioned to you before, I have a grappling background, right? I wasn't a wrestler in high school. I played football. I'm a big guy, but my primary art is CROB, self-defense, fitness, and I love to play in the world of grappling and striking with that law enforcement or just defensive mindset. Whether you're a 5'4" woman or a 6'4" guy, what's going to work, right, in different aspects too. So that's the only kind of thing that maybe, and I know your system will work for that, right? But I was preface, I'm sure you were thinking that as well too. If
you look at MMA and you look at collegiate level wrestling, you look at boxing and you look at jiu-jitsu, there's weight classes. There's weight classes for a reason, right? Physics is real, mass, strength, all of that is real. Now, we can offset that by having a higher skill set than those people. But when skill comes in the same ballpark, now obviously mass and strength plays a huge difference. And it's a factor that you can articulate under Graham Connor, right?
Yes.
Sure, Graham Connor has 3 factors, but there's also multiple factors that the court will consider. And if you don't think size and strength plays a difference when skill sets in the same ballpark, you're crazy. The other thing is, if you don't think skills over size play a part, if there's a big vast difference in those, right? So there's all these variables. So law enforcement has all these variables that we have to deal with. And unfortunately, what works for me might not work for Dennis. What works for Dennis, who at 225 and has some no-gi level grappling experience and cryo experience, might not work for the 5'4" female that weighs 120 pounds that doesn't train very often. You know, EFC is rooted in 5 main principles. We're a principle and concept-based company. 1 is going to be awareness. 2 is mobility, because movement is life. We have to be able to move. 3 goes right along with that and is our distance management principle. You have to be able to disengage or engage, and you have to allow your officers to do both. Usually I say that's going to be skill set, or possibly situation can dictate that. But usually personal preference, skill set, I'll allow that to happen. And then from there, angles when fights. It doesn't matter if it's a gun fight. It doesn't matter if it's a Muay Thai fight, a karate fight, whatever it is. Angles win championships. And then again, our last one is improvise. Improvise is what we call making problem solvers, because I can't have the same exact thing happen incident over and over and over again. You have to decide and kind of be that problem solver. I kind of put it like this. I teach in what I call my triangle of 3 things. Here are the set of skills that we're going to use in police work. Okay. Whether it's striking skills, underhooks, overhooks, inside positions, shrimping, okay, all those types of things. Then I'm going to teach you the concepts, and then you have to add the tactic, because each position is a little bit different, and there's too many variables to say this move works every single time.
Which this is what I always like to say too, which I think you said partially here. We teach technique because you're teaching technique, but at the end of the day, you're teaching concepts and principles, because there's no way that you're going to be able to come up with every type of scenario. I've been teaching since 2008, and I'm still learning in the gym. It is our experimentation. It's our laboratory. You're going to get a crazy question you've never got before. You say, I never thought of that before, right?
It's never ending. It's a never-ending learning experience, right?
Never
and then also in police work, we're super lucky right now because we have all this body cam video. It's all out there. And what we can utilize that for is to break down what are officers not doing great, what better solutions can we provide them. But even more so, what I don't think people think about enough is, what are the trends the suspect's doing? What are those trends? And then we need to train to those trends, right? You and I both know that we can make data points, or we can pull stats that fit the agenda I want versus the agenda Dennis wants versus the agenda a council person wants. We can pull them. Where it is if you can take those data points and then compare it to body cam and be like, yep, the body cam is fitting all these data points, or 3/4 of these data points. Now that's good data to now take and be like, hey, how do we affect it with training? How do we train to that? So let's take knife statistics for instance. There's a really good study out there, and it's not just against cops, it's overall. It's an Urban Fit and Fearless one, and it's almost 10 years old now, but the data points are even fitting more often now than they were before. So some of the main points in there is like, you won't see the knife until it is launched. That will be within 3 feet, and they're leading with their empty hand. So leading with their empty hand is important because they're trying to reduce your movement, restrict your ability to get backwards, get to your gun. Maybe they're using it as a distraction device, right? So if I don't see it within 3 feet, and I don't see the knife until it's launched, and then they're connecting to me, I need to be able to process fast. So I shouldn't be starting out my knife drilling facing my partner, because I already see where the knife is at now. Okay, so we're already gaming drilling because we're doing knife drills. So in just the drill mode, I should be facing away from my partner, and that way he can have it in his right hand, his left hand. He can come over the top, underneath. He could come from the side once in a while, but in that study, it's like 59% of the time, it's just kitchen grip underneath The other 28 is like over the top.
Upper
Okay?
step, down step.
So that leaves like 10% that it's some sort of other type of slash. So you got to throw that in there here or there. But starting facing away, starting our opponent right behind us, when we turn, they can grab a hold of us. They might not lead with that empty hand that time. They should be doing something with it, because bad guys don't just do nothing.
Yep.
And now we have to process. Is it a blade? Where is it coming from? You know, and then once we do all those trainings, I do a drill that's called love punches and stabs. And now we are drilling just a knife. So in police work, I don't know if it's a knife.
Yeah. Yep. So Jay, I love it, because I do the same thing, right? So in what I refer to that as, you know, we train like that to reduce the reactionary gap.
Yeah.
Reactionary gap of identification to performance, right? Why we do it. So fantastic. So, love it.
Love punches and stabs is I turn and the guy reaches out and gives me like a handshake or a pat, like, dude, I love what you guys are doing. I appreciate you being a cop, whatever. Next time he turns around, it could be a flurry of punches. Yeah. Well, I can't just like shoot a guy if he's punching me. Okay, I have to, now it's a combative suspect. I have to work through that use of force. And then I might turn around and I have to process that it's a knife. Yeah. So that's how I'll end that knife situation, is love punches and stabs, because now you have to work through processing what it is. And once you start seeing officers process, it goes back into like what reality-based training is for us. We can talk about later on in the questions. But again, it's a lot about processing and delivering through fear and stress, right? Yep.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna, for time purpose, that was a lot. So, and it was a lot of extra, which is all good too. So it's fantastic. I'm gonna, our next piece that I had was beyond you, but effective fitness combatives. What is EFC? Why? Whom created it? I understand the mission is to provide quality content education for LEOs through proven science-driven fitness and combatives. You guys, you and Adam have developed, a proven combatives program, right, with regards to defensive tactics training beyond the current standard. And what I'm hearing from you is exactly that. You guys have you have combatives training, you have in-person training, which is part of that. You have on-demand training, which is part of that. You do instructor trainings, which is part of that too, right? So before we go on to the trainings, real quickly about your partner in crime, if you will, and then maybe a little bit on the cadre of instructors and support instructors that you brought on board to help you guys.
Yeah, so Adam had been reaching out to me for quite a bit. I was obviously running the state program. I was running local programs. I was assisting, helping C4C, which is Chad Lyman's out of Vegas, running a lot of his courses for him. And Adam was like, let's do our own. Let's do our own. Things didn't work out with Chad and I as far as like me being able to own into the business with him. Just timing wasn't right. That was the only reason. I still love him to death. He runs his thing. I do my thing. But Adam had reached out and we talked for, it was a while, probably like 6 to 12 months before it came to fruition that we're okay, let's going to do this. And so we were the co-founders of EFC, and basically just, took what I was already doing and then made the back end even better, right? Giving our students coursework and through app access, through online material. So if you come to a level 1 or level 2, you get all the coursework, lesson plans, the course written out as a whole, but you also get a whole virtual library of everything that we teach so that you can continue to train, right? Continuous training is the biggest downfall in the police profession. We don't continuously train. Go to the academy, train DT for 40 hours, don't train it for another 10 years, you still suck at training, right? So like same with range, those types of things. So that's kind of how it became a thing. And basically, EFC is just the updated, polished version of what I've been doing and building since 2009 at the department level through the state level. And it's never going to be complete. I don't say it's a perfect product because with human error, with anything in human error, nothing's perfect. But it's probably the best polished combatives program right now out there. It's the fastest growing, but it's never ending. Like the May of 2022, I built the first PowerPoint out for this and the first curriculum build out for that. I think I'm on like 6.0 now. Trends change, use of force changes, all those types of things. We have to change with that.
What does the course look like today? As far as I know, it's a 5-day course. It's 40 hours for at least the level 1 certification, right? 40 hours, 5-day course. What what does a day look like? What does the week look like for number of techniques? Where we're at mounted, side mounted? We're using weapons as far as being attacked by weapons? Are you wearing your duty belt? Go ahead. What
Yeah.
does that look like?
So for us, we're not really a technique-based curriculum. There are some techniques in there, but more stuff revolves around what our 5 main principles are, and then what are the concepts of each incident or position that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are the skills we use to solve this with? And then we kind of make the people problem solvers in each individual one. But we start out with a 3-hour block of PowerPoint. We have to talk about use of force. It's an instructor certification, the level 1. So we also have to talk about the I form of coaching, how to deliver that. You're a coach, you understand that. There's ways to deliver a program. Like I could have the best program in the world, and if I don't know how to deliver it, it doesn't matter. If I deliver it really well and the students don't retain it, then the program's not going to be good either. So understand the I form of coaching and adult learning. How do adults learn? And how do I get people to buy into what we're teaching that have been a cop for 15 years and I'm a cop, I'm a gun guy, or I'm a DT guy. I don't need gun stuff. How do we get them to buy into this stuff? So that's 3-hour block is classroom. We kind of run them through all that kind of stuff, overview of use of force. And then right from there, we come out and we start our hands-on stuff for the rest of the week. We do a skills block, and that is just simply skills. That is not tactics. Hey, stances, level change, breaking grips, underhooks, overhooks, winning the outside, beating the elbow, getting to an angle, inside head position, striking, punch defense, working up from the ground. How do we hip escape? How do we stand up? So we do skills. Then from skills, we go into what we call dominating from bad positions. That's probably what most people consider like jujitsu for police, I would say, is, hey, we fall down. How do we get to our feet or get on top? Because I don't want to spend time doing sport jujitsu on the bottom. Now, I'll use some of those fundamentals to stand up, but one, I have to minimize damage too, right? The guy could be punching me here. He's not just trying to hold me down. So he could be punching me. He could be presenting a weapon. He would be going for a weapon. So now with keeping all those things accountable, how do I get to my feet? How do I use that to stand up, create distance, utilize strikes to close space or create space, and then work to my feet? That's the hardest block for people in the beginning that don't train some sort of jiu-jitsu, because most people have never been on their back, or if they are on their back, they just don't know how to fight from there. So they freak out and they panic, right? Then from there, we transition to what is probably the rest of the course is the bread and butter of what EFC delivers, and that is one-man control, one-man takedowns, team multiple officer control, team takedowns, and then we transition into what we call weapon-based entanglements, and that is we throw the gun belts on and we're in our gun belts the rest of the week, okay? Weapon retention, deflection, creating space, engaging space with weapons. What do we got to look for? How do we defend people grabbing for weapons? What is human behaviors of someone trying to grab for your weapon or theirs? How do we retain ours? What are the objectives of all those things? And then we'll get into like earning your draw. You can't just draw. If you're on top of me and I'm trying to draw, it's your gun as much as it is mine, right?
So I'm going
those things.
I want to jump in here for a second, real quick second, because I want to know how this compares to, right? The course is specific for law enforcement, but we also know throughout the United States, right? Virginia, West Virginia, out here where I am specifically too, maybe not so much from New York City, but and parts of the United States, right? But people love to carry handguns. People still train jujitsu. So really quickly, I got to throw in there too, right? I don't know anyone else. I know one person very specifically, which I've had on my podcast, that is training that for civilians even. So like a kind of a program like this that we're teaching cops, because we carry guns, right? We have our own gun. And if you're concealed carrying, you're also carrying your own gun, right?
Yeah.
So there's very little program out there for that. And one of my questions later is, is there anything you guys are going to do beyond, law enforcement someday? So
Yeah,
I'm going to throw it out there now, right?
We're going to work into a combative concealed handgun course and hit more so on like things that range instructors miss, right? There's tons of range courses you can go to. There's tons of CQB courses you can go to. But we also know that gunfights happen from 0 to 7 feet. Okay, and we see a lot of times like cops and civilians presenting guns too soon, and now we're in a fight for our weapon. So a lot of that's going to come down to how do we control that space to earn our draw. And then two, if you're concealed, one thing people don't work at is if I'm earning my draw and I'm in an entanglement already, one of my hands is probably fighting, controlling something or controlling distance. So how do I work the garment with one hand to present? You know, so we see when we do combative concealed handgun courses, guns go flying all the time. That's one rule. If your gun goes flying, let it go. Don't try to catch it. Don't leave it, like on the range. And that's because people don't work their garments, one, under stress, two, they don't work their garments with one hand. And it's usually not because I'm injured. It's usually because my left hand is probably controlling something or winning an angle so then I can present. But now that concealment is actually going to be harder to present. I'm just trying to race it and my garment gets caught in there. And that's why we see these things wrong. So yeah, we're going to work into that eventually. That's just getting staff up to speed as far as being able to have guys that can run level 1, and I can now move into just level 2.
I got
you. Level 2 is running itself.
And that's what I'll move into at this point for time purposes too, right? Level 2, 32 hours, I assume 4 days then. You're looking for everyone's had to go through level 1. And for level 1, is it for experienced officers, or is it also for like a brand new guy out of the academy or gal out of the academy too?
Level 1 is designed for a competent level cop to understand and get better at what they do on an everyday job. I don't call it defensive tactics because, one, we're not defensive all the time, and two, I don't call it control tactics because we're not always just controlling someone. There are times to create space, you know, get your weapons up and running, or create space and get something between you and him, get on the radio, get more people there. So it's a full spectrum combatives course, level 1 is. And then it plays into level 2, and level 2 is all about defeating stress and then putting pressure on someone. So that's 0 to 10 seconds of, I want them to be under pressure right away, not knowing what the drill is, and then having to solve the problem initially and then making good decisions after that. But if you look at fear and stress, it has three common responses: fight, flight, and retrieve, right? So we don't want to freeze. Human beings fight actually forward pretty well. So that's not one that we see like poorly go wrong. Usually they go forward to fight. They do pretty well. One, we have to break that freeze. And then 2, flight. When we flight, human reaction is backwards, and it's poor. There's one good pro out of backwards, and that is we create distance initially. After that, it all goes downhill. So how do we break that? And that's moving like an athlete. We have to train our guys to disengage properly. How do we disengage going forward or down range? One, the flat range causes a lot of issues with that, because on the flat range is take 1 step to the left, take 1 step to the right, a step or 2 back and present your gun. It's too fast for that. My one buddy used to always say, like, smooth is fast, fast is smooth. BS. He goes, the smooth is slow, slow is slow. Be familiar with fast, right? So we have to be familiar with fast, and we have to work our officers into being able to move like that. And the good thing with that is that our PT guys can have them up to par in a 6-month academy because they get them 5 days a week. Because they're doing it every 40 day. Hours. Their range we get for 80, right? So take these silos down. Start integrating it all together.
So that's what I want to know. This is huge for me because I'm really unsure how, right? How are you guys, the business name, Effective Fitness Combatives. So how are you incorporating fitness into the program?
Yeah, so like right away, like fitness is the foundation of everything, okay? So when we start getting into the weapons blocks, okay, you're really going to see what most people would think is fitness is like athletic movements and creating space, and that we call it that block deflection. It's the awareness, not letting someone, we don't do weapon retention until after deflection. Because if I see you grabbing, I should be teaching my officers how to deflect that or intercept that and engage them or disengage them. Then once that fails, we go to weapon retention. But if you think about like even pummeling, even the skills, even combative conditioning as far as like working on the ground, every block that we do, we then throw even like the ground blocks, we drill that all slick. Then when we're all done with the ground blocks, we put them in gear. We do gear checks. We talk about their gear. And then we give them multiple resistant rounds. They're on the ground. Their goal in their gear is to get up or get on top. And we baby step them, okay? They haven't learned weapon retention yet. They haven't learned how to do weapon defense yet. So we tell the suspect, I want you to give them just enough resistance that they see struggle. Don't overwhelm them, but enough resistance where they see a little bit of failure and they have to solve the problem. From there, We tell them you can also add strikes in as the bad guy. You can strike your suspect as you're trying to hold them down. Because the bad guy's not just going to hold you down on the street. He's not trying to pin you. He's not trying to win points. He's going to be either trying to take a weapon, deploy a weapon, or hurt you and kill you. Or otherwise, he'd already be running away.
And I want to remind our listeners what you just said, because when I get to this one question about what Leo programs are limited or missing to, right, I want them to think of that, right? It's not just a BJJ class where your partner's on top of you and you're only using BJJ.
Sure.
Right? So I just want, for our listeners' purposes, when we get to that question too, because I think what you just said is huge. Quickly here, level 2 then, are there scenario based? Is it also scenario based in addition to the reality based? Like you mentioned, like, turning around, you got in a second, you have to, close that reactionary gap. Are you guys doing anything else with simunitions or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's all. It's 100%. That's what it is. It's how do you integrate simunitions into a combatives course and then make it attainable for objectives. Okay, cool. Attainable for the use of force, those types of things. So day 1 of level 2 is all PowerPoint, because I have to teach you why reality-based training. I have to then teach you how do we develop these box drills, what are box drills, and how do we do those? How do we safely integrate in UTMs? What equipment do we need? How do we be the safety officers so that when we're adding up resistance and make it more realistic and putting pressure on you, that people aren't getting injured? Okay. And then how do I coach that? Okay. Because if I coach that wrong, you're not retaining that stuff. So then day 2 is my instructors teach each individual in the course would get 2 box drills. A box drill for us is like what the Navy SEALs do is their black hood drills. Okay. Cool. You have no idea. We don't give them the scenario. They turn around, we pull a hood off them. They have to just handle whatever's in front of them. That could be from a guy being drunk asking for directions to them turning around being attacked with a knife within 3 feet of them.
So I want to jump in here then too, again, real quick too, right? So one of the things that I am not a proponent for that I see in a lot of trainings, right? Because of the lack of time that we train in law enforcement, it is what it is. We'd love to see everyone train 10 times more than we do, right? But we often see, instead of a shoot, no shoot scenario, we see shoot scenarios, shoot scenarios, shoot scenarios, shoot scenarios, in my opinion. And it's horrible. You need about 50% of it should be probably more than 50% of the time. Yeah. Because statistically, that's what we're getting. Shooting someone is a small percentage, but even if it was 50-50, right? So I'm hoping, right, that you got plenty of scenarios that are what you just said. Someone just turns around and
I would say like, so then every group officer runs through 2. What we do is break them up into 3 groups, A, B, and C. A is going to come with us. They're going to observe and shadow me coaching. They're going to help be safety officers. They're going to be role players. B is going to be coming one at a time in and doing their 2 drills. Once they do their 2, they can sit and watch the rest of their group go through. C is in a classroom building box drills for the next day, because then they're running each other through them while we observe and shadow them. Cool. Okay, so 2 days in a row, they're going through box drills the whole day, but they're also coaching them. They're also shadowing them.
Every time you run a level 2 course, it's virtually 80% of the course. 3 days of the course for sure is always going to be very different from one to the next. Yeah, cool, very cool.
And then day 4 is vehicle extractions. Not just yanking dudes out of the car. Yanking guys out of the car is the easy part. What if it goes bad? What if he presents a weapon while we're extracting? Do we engage or disengage? How do we move together to mitigate crossfire? How do we position ourselves initially to mitigate crossfire? The yanking a guy out of the car is the easy part.
Yeah.
Right. If we know he has a gun, he's trying a gun, it's a high-risk vehicle stop. So what is actually a vehicle extraction incident versus what is a high-risk vehicle stop versus what is a barricade in a vehicle? So we cover the safety aspects of those. Can the car get mobile? We're not reaching in the car, all that kind of stuff. Then we work on yanking dudes out of the car. What is the common resistance in the steering wheel compartment versus the other passenger compartments? Because those are different and they vary. Gotcha. Give them some options from there. And then we work all into disengagement or engaging. And, I think in level 2, the ones that are developed to see like wall pins, takedowns into control, the students are crushing the retainment from level 1, which is the reason the way we teach level 1 is built for retainment. Okay. And they're crushing that. Where I see the biggest faults in level 2 are range training issues. 100% across the board, it's range training issues. Flat range fails. Being at lockback and not fixing your emergency reload. 2 rounds and holstering right away, right? All these things, moving straight backwards. Can't get my gun out of the holster.
Our last firearms, we did that with our scenarios, right? And I don't know what the percentage was, but we had people to not go to lockback, and you might have been in your second or third mag, so for whatever it's worth, they're not loading the mags fully. You get like 3 rounds of mags, so you're doing way more mag exchanges than you probably really would, but it's still building in the principle and the concept of, right, making sure my gun is able to run right at all times too. So,
and here's the thing, like if my gun goes to lockback, I don't need to look at it, I feel it. But that's because I shoot enough to feel the gun. So when we're only giving people 1, maybe 2 ranges a year, and those are the people that want to come and don't even want to shoot anyways, and they pass it at 70 and they still suck at shooting, and now they're put under stress, and so they're not feeling the lockback of that gun. That's why building in after actions is super important. We go with 6 after action, 5 main ones, and then 1 unwritten one. And it's, is the suspect down, or has his behavior changed? That could be, I'm engaged in shooting and he drops, and is he down? Or maybe he drops the weapon and he puts his hands up and his behavior is changing. Is he alone, right? Because we work in an environment where there's multiple people sometimes. Is he alone? Should I be moving? Okay. What's the condition of my gun? Is it empty? Does it need a deliberate reload when cover's available? Is it shot? Did it get shot? Whatever. And then, am I okay? Is it a gunfight? It's a knife. Should I be checking myself?
Check yourself too. Absolutely.
Myself. And then 6, the unwritten one, is what does my backdrop look like? Right. If I'm moving and I'm going to hold on him until backup comes, what's my backdrop look like? Either changing him, myself, or the people behind him.
Let me also ask about your on-demand courses. You have a combatives user course, which is like all-inclusive. You have a vehicle extraction course, weapons-based entanglements course. So pieces of what I'm hearing from like some of the week, if you will, to single officer apprehension takedowns, team tactics, wall pin, vest grip break, handcuffing, searching. A couple of those are free, by the way, for everyone that's listening. You want to go on and check those out. So if you did the combative user course, is that encompassing the instructor level course for somebody?
I don't believe in online certification courses for like instructors and whatever. So like if you buy the online user course, that could be like you're at a small agency, maybe a large agency, and they're not providing you adequate training. So hey, what is EFC doing? And I tell people this too. You don't have to want to be an instructor to come to level 1. You'll get some of the instructor dev pieces of it and the stuff that comes in the course app, the material. But the level 1 is a full spectrum combatives course. That's what you're going to use on a daily incident in patrol over and over again. That's why I don't have level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for like the combatives portion of it, like the control, because it just gets so good at it. I don't believe in a beginner jiu-jitsu and advanced jiu-jitsu. The only difference is I know my routes better, I'm faster in my sequencing, and I know how to use my fundamentals faster, right? So I want that level 1 to be over and over again. And then for the advanced instructor that wants to develop a stress-related integration with UTMs or SIMs, non-lethal training weapons, right? Depending on what make you use. But I want them to know, how do we do that? How do we build it in objectively to get force on force, so it doesn't just become like a shit show every time. Sometimes we do force on force and it's just like there's no objectives built out of it. So say I'm running a box drill for you. I might develop a box drill where you turn around and the guy's just punching you in the corner. You have to handle a punch defense right away. You have 2 options, basically. You can engage me or disengage me. You might have to engage me to disengage me. But I'm not saying you have to engage or disengage me. I'm going to let you have that choice realistically and let you work through it. You might punch defense, come inside, change levels, get behind me, take me down, go into control. Perfect. You might.
Our academy does that. Our academy does that one too, by the way. They threw you in the corner where you can't see, eyes closed, right? And then they tell you to turn around, and they just instantaneously start punching.
So all our box drills start with you facing away and like a hood over your head, or you just facing away. And when you turn, you have to handle it. That could be you turn and I grab a hold of you, I start stabbing you. You got to like fight the knife there. You could be in open space. I could put you in closed space. Multiple everything. You could turn around and it could be just a drunk guy like, where's the pub at? And you're just like, Now you got to handle that situation as is. But there's objectives of what I want to see doing those, right? If it's the knife one, it's okay. If he doesn't grab a hold of me, can I move laterally and get my gun up and running and create space right away? If he doesn't, how do I fight that blade, beat the elbow, get behind him, and then get my gun up and running? In police work, I have a gun on me. My answer to that is a gun, but when is it a gun? Sometimes is the question.
Yeah.
And then how do I move properly out of that
space? And you mentioned before with the knife too. So in my reality-based self-defense, right, too, we have surprise attacks. So it's one attack after the next, consistently by multiple attackers, not at the same time, but one after the next, right? So we're kind of similar in nature. You do get to see what's coming at you, but the faster your attackers go, right, you have less time to recognize.
You got to process.
And it could be gun defense, knife defense, punch defense, going on the ground. We'll work through the different things. Obviously, types of attacks. Hey, we're really late on time, but thank you so much. I do want to get into kind of like that one last question, though, right? Where other LEO programs are limited, significantly fail, in my opinion. I will not name some that are out there. I think they're great programs, but they're limited. Hence, in my opinion, then they significantly fail, right? So, law enforcement is wearing kits today. 30 years ago, everything was on your belt. Okay, so we're carrying more today. Everyone's got a tourniquet. I didn't have a tourniquet on myself 30 years ago. I didn't have a body camera on myself 30 plus years ago, right? What else? People have tasers now that we didn't have 30 years ago. People have a cell phone, which, believe it or not, you didn't have 30 years ago either on your person. Okay, so we're carrying things that some people may carry first aid type pouches too, right? And things of that nature. Our department is requiring us to do that, right? So we're carrying a whole lot more. We weigh a whole lot more. You may have the guys I work with are carrying knives. You may have a backup gun. So these are all things that, again, can be taken away from you. One of the extra things that some of the people on our department are carrying is an extra rifle magazine these days for that significant one-time event that may happen. Again, more weight, something else on your vest, right? So not so easy necessarily to do all the jiu-jitsu that's out there too. So when we look at other programs, realistically, when I see people wearing almost nothing to do technique, I just have to question, that's not what I see on a daily basis, or officers, at least in my agency, carrying, right? Again, techniques have to work for all kinds of people, whether they're 5'3", 6'3", people that are violent offenders, EDPs, etc., right? And not all these other classes are training that I've seen, right? A lot of BJJ, so they're leaving out knife attacks, weapons attacks with guns, large crowds, hence where your program's coming in to some extent, two officers on one person, even, right? The other way. Yep. So we have other courses on de-escalation in law enforcement, huge, right? With crisis intervention training. So there's nothing out there throwing. You talk about Graham versus Connor. It's great that you're bringing in that stuff, right? Because there's a lot involved. It's DT, it's handcuffing, it's CIT, it's firearms, there's legal training, there's first aid, there's emergency medical, there's TACCC, right? All this stuff that we got going on. So there's not one thing that's holistic and well-rounded, but it sounds like your program is doing its best to bring a lot of that into this, right? In a very impactful way within a short period of time too. So we
don't work in a DT environment. We don't work in just a range environment. We don't work in just a verbal de-escalation environment. Yeah. We work in a full spectrum combatives environment. And my gun problem can become a hands-on problem. My hands-on problem can become a gun problem at any time. And one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, from society and even admin is going to be that de-escalation is verbal only. It's like the furthest from the truth, right? Like, how many times have you had your gun pointed at someone and didn't have to shoot them?
Well, more often than not.
More often than not, right? So now I'm at deadly physical force tool. I'm utilizing deadly physical force tool, good tactics, distance, to then verbally de-escalate at distance with good tactics, right? So tactics and control and distance are also forms of de-escalation. I have a de-escalation formula because I'm kind of a math nerd, but distance equals time, and everyone wants time because it's a hot commodity. So time allows us, so then time equals, okay, so distance plus time equals better solutions, better critical decision or stress, and better options.
100%, right?
Now, in the absence of distance, we have to have control. So control, if I'm fighting with a guy and I go low mount, I have double wrist control and he can't get to a weapon, he can't get up. Okay, my head's high, I'm checking my surroundings. Now my control has given me the time to then
You're
get
buying
the
some time.
that I want before.
You're buying some time.
Yeah. So distance or time gives us, or distance or control gives us time. Time is a hot commodity to de-escalation.
Love it. Like, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we need an ongoing, holistic, well-rounded defensive tactics, whether you want to call it defensive tactics training, whatever, reality-based or scenario-based training, right? With simunitions, encompassing shoot, no shoot situations, like we just said, and incorporating as much of that as possible. I'm excited. I know our agency is using a lot of what you guys are bringing to the table too. I hope to come to a course myself at some point in the near future.
Yeah, just let me know. Email me. We'll make it work.
Cool. How do people reach out to you and find out more information? You want to give it the website and stuff for us?
Yeah, so it's EFCombatives.com, just the letter E, the letter F, and then combatives with an S.com. The Instagram page and YouTube page are EFCombatives. My personal page is WADSBJJ. You guys can DM me there. Any questions? Or you can email me JAY@EFCombatives.com.
Awesome. Hey, Jay, I lost you there for a second. I just lost you there for a second. Wanted to hold down for a minute. But hey, thank you so much for being here, Jay. Greatly appreciate you. I'll reach right back out in a second. But hey, everybody, please reach out to Jay. If you're in law enforcement, you're back on.
I don't know what happened. Like the camera went away.
You're good. I want to thank you for being here today. Greatly appreciate you. I'm really promoting what I hear and what I see and what our agency is bringing to the table from Jay and his team.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So we'll correct that. I can hear you. So, hey, everybody, you know the drill. I'm going to get Jay back on here just to say goodbye. But hey, till next time, train hard, train smart, train safe, train real, and train for life. Take care, everybody.